Today I want to talk about whether or not a hybrid system even makes sense. I want to maybe take a bit of a critical view and try to get to the bottom of how successful or not successful this rumored device could be. And before we do that, let's just get to the basics of what this device is supposed to be. It is a hybrid console/handheld device. If it was a baseball player, they would say that it was ambidextrous. It is a device that can be used completely as a handheld system, and alternatively, it can be used completely as a console. So you can plug it into a dock, which is hooked up to your TV. The dock will power the device, so you don't have to worry about the battery while you're using it as a console, and it'll also likely hook up through HDMI, producing a 1080p signal on your television set. It comes with two controllers which are attached to the side of the screen itself, which are removed when you place it into the dock. It's been said that these two controllers can be used separately by two different people, and I imagine they could also be used in conjunction with each other for one user. I'm thinking that these controllers are kind of like a Wii Remote meets a nunchuck meets an Apple TV remote, in that they will have an analog slider on them, they will have motion controls, and it will be much sleeker and sexier a la the Apple TV remote. And I think everything has to be put into context. The context that I'm using right now for this discussion is the suggestion that this is the Nintendo NX, that there won't be other devices to potentially fill other gaps in the marketplace. So I'm talking about this device as if it was the one and only dedicated hardware device that Nintendo is coming out with. The positives of this device, I think, are very clear. It's kind of nice to have a device that comes with two controllers right out of the box. It's going to potentially appeal to both handheld gamers and console gamers and kind of funnel these two different markets into one product. Hypothetically speaking, you would take the 20 to 25 million console users that Nintendo is able to appeal to, and you take the 60 to 85 million users that Nintendo typically will bring in on the handheld side of things, and combine them into one product that has maybe 100 million unit user base. And then Nintendo can put all of its studios on one device that serves both markets, instead of having to fragment their development energies onto two completely separate devices. So those advantages to me are clear, and I think that it's just simple. You don't have to deal with how easy is it going to be to port a game from an ARM-based handheld architecture to an x86 console architecture, and vice versa. That is another advantage. I understand that it's easier to port from ARM to x86 than vice versa, but I still think inherently it's going to be easier on developers in this one regard to have one product to serve both markets. But I will say that it's not so simple, in my opinion, as I am making it out to be, because there are reasons why the handheld systems sell so great, and there are reasons why the console also is appealing. And these are different types of markets, right? So if you're a console gamer who doesn't give a flying rip about a handheld, this system is going to be a bit of a letdown versus the alternative of coming out with multiple devices and sharing a library. The system is going to be, again, not up to par with the competition. In fact, it might even be worse for its time than the Wii U was. When the Wii U came out, it was actually more powerful than the other consoles on the market. And by the time the Nintendo NX comes out, you're going to be looking at a scenario in which the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation 4 Neo are all more powerful than the Nintendo NX handheld. And it's not going to be considerably cheaper than an Xbox One. So from that perspective, again, I think you're appealing only to Nintendo fans and appealing to maybe Xbox and Sony gamers that are willing to buy an extra console just for the Nintendo first-party titles. But you're probably not going to put yourself in the conversation of should I get an NX or should I get a PlayStation Neo, and potentially stealing some of those customers away. And then on the handheld side, let's say you're more of a handheld gamer, I can definitely see this being more appealing to the handheld Nintendo consumer versus the console Nintendo consumer, because you really are getting a very high-end handheld. And for me personally, I love both. And from a handheld perspective, I'm very excited about potentially getting a very powerful handheld this generation, one that's capable of taking Breath of the Wild and doing it at higher resolutions, higher frame rates, better anti-aliasing, probably better textures, better effects. You name it, the system would still be multiple times better than the Wii U, even if it doesn't quite meet the Xbox One in terms of performance. And to be able to just sit up in bed and play that, or take it on a road trip with me, is very appealing. However, we must understand that a large portion of Nintendo's handheld sales are going to younger children. Maybe 40% is guys like us who grew up playing Nintendo and are buying this device because we want to play the sequels to the games we all know and love, and we're willing to pay $200, $250, and we want something that's technically advanced. However, parents who are buying these things in droves for their kids are not going to be happy with this product because it's going to be too expensive. And parents don't just think in terms of how much does it cost to buy, but also how much does it cost to replace it when my kids lose it or my kids break it. You see, right now they're actually selling 2DSs for, I believe it is $80 with Mario Kart. That's a great deal. If I was a parent and I had like 5 kids, they'd all be getting one for Christmas. And I think that's the kind of scenario that plays out all the time, where one family might end up owning 4, 5, 6 2DSs if they're kind of a gaming family. And with this device, I just don't see too many families buying more than one. So it's not quite accurate, in my opinion, to just say, well, let's take the Wii U sales or GameCube level of console sales and let's take the average of Game Boy Advance and 3DS level of handheld sales and let's combine them to create one magical number of what the install base is going to be. It's not so simple because there are major elements to these two separate markets that aren't properly being served with a jack of all trades device. Another thing worth noting is whether or not this device will even be pocketable unless you have the largest of pockets like I have. I mean, from what I've heard from a source that I have, the system is targeting currently a 6-inch screen. So you got a larger screen, close to the Wii U screen in size, and now you're adding on top of that controllers that attach and detach. I'm not sure this is something that you want to stick in your pocket. What happens if those controllers kind of disconnect in your pocket, or if there's some shifting around and whatnot? I'm not sure that this is something that you want to stick in your pocket where you might run into things. It's going to probably get dirt and whatnot in between the crevices where the controllers attach to the side of it. It's going to be large. So I think that the notion that this is a handheld, it's a little bit flawed. It's certainly not looking right now like this is going to be a pocketable device. You know, and there's been some talk as well about how Nintendo is going to be using this product to try and upgrade the smartphone tablet users into the dedicated gaming atmosphere. But I don't think that that's going to happen in large quantities. Yeah, maybe you'll get 5-10 million people worldwide that will do that, but the vast majority of this market only cares enough about video games to download a free game on a device that they already have ownership of and would have ownership of regardless of if they ever played a video game on their smartphone. And then on the lower end of the market, the kids element to the market, you're talking about hand-me-down phones. Parents are going out and buying a new phone every 2 years, every 3 years, and then their kids end up up getting their hand-me-downs, so it basically costs them nothing, and the games tend to be free to play, and if they're not free to play, they're cheaper on those devices. So you're not going to get a ton of people to upgrade to this higher end device. There's definitely value in them making mobile games because they're going to be making money in this mobile market, and they're definitely going to keep their IPs more top of mind. But I don't think that the majority of these people, if they're like excited and happy to play Pokemon Go, are actually going to go out and buy dedicated hardware to play something that they're already happy with on their smartphones. So there you have it. I think ultimately my prediction for this system, if it ends up being a hybrid system, no other complementary devices, like maybe a cheaper handheld and maybe a more expensive dedicated console, I think the device would do okay. Like Nintendo would definitely profit on it, but I'm thinking it maybe would sell 45 to 50 million units lifetime, and that's assuming it's a standard product where you release a product and you have it on the market for 5 years without major upgrades. Things could go a little bit differently if their plan is to actually upgrade the device every 2 years. For example, they could come out in March with a system that's based on Tegra's Pascal architecture, and 2 years down the road, they could come up with a system based on the next version of Tegra's architecture. And at that point in time, it would likely severely blow away the PlayStation 4 in terms of specs, and you'd be getting people to rebuy the product but a better version, similar to what we see in the smartphones and tablets market, and similar to what we're now starting to see on the dedicated console side of things. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please click like. I really would appreciate it if you guys decided to subscribe. I'm looking forward to growing the subscriber count. If I reach 10,000 subscribers, Nintendo will actually start sending me games early, and that's going to improve my ability to provide content to you guys. Give me your thoughts, and I'll see ya in the next video.